Iterative design is an approach of developing and refining a design based on feedback and evaluation. Many view iterative design as a modern practice, but it actually dates back to the mid-1950s. The work of iterative design grew from Walter Schuhart. He was a quality expert at Bell Labs. The earliest reference to iterative design was in 1968 through IBM, and it seems like iterative design started more on the business side of things, where you design a product, you analyze the product, and you get feedback from the product, you modify the product based on the feedback, and then you roll out the new product, and you continue going through the cycle of analyzing the product, modifying the product, and putting the product back out. This flow chart shows the flow of iterative design. You start with briefing, which could be the planning and the requirement for the product. Then you move into design, which is where you design the product. And then you move into the prototype, so you have your first product, and you start thinking about the implementation of the product, and you move into testing the product. And once you've tested the product, you move into evaluating the product. How did the product work? What changes need to be made? And as you can see from the flow chart, that after evaluation, it flows back around to design. So you kind of repeat the process over and over again through iterative design. This flow chart is very good in explanation for how iterative design could be used in the education world. You start with making a model of the design, and you move into testing the model and to see if it meets the needs of the user that you're testing for. And then you move into the evaluation of the model, and you decide how it can be improved. And then you keep on following this loop until the product meets the needs of your user very well. This quote states that you can only make it once, but you can make it better as many times as you need, which I thought that this spoke perfectly to iterative design, as you begin with your first product, but then you're constantly reevaluating that product and thinking about ways that you can make the product better. This quote says, "You'll never get it perfect the first time, but starting somewhere will force you into an iterative cycle of improvement," which I thought went perfectly with the little cartoon that I've added here. It's raining, and the person realizes they need something to keep the rain from coming down on them. So they start with using a pan and realize that the pan's not the best option. So they move into a bowl, and they realize that the bowl's not the best choice. And so then the first model of an umbrella, it looks like they've made the first model of an umbrella, but realize that that product could be altered to become a better product. And so they go back to the drawing board and think about, what can I do to make this product better? And then it turns out where they have the final product of an umbrella that we use today. The first article or research that I found for use in the educational setting is transforming learning spaces through iterative design to support inquiry-driven learning. And so this research uses the iterative design, and through active learning classrooms, faculty can rethink and redesign their courses to include more inquiry-driven activities and experiences for students. The second use I found in an educational setting is another research paper titled "Improving Learning Outcomes Through Iterative Teaching and Learning Methodology." So student success is typically determined by the methodology adopted by the teacher. And in most current teaching and learning systems, there's a one-way process, and student performance is not always analyzed in the understanding of what students know. So this paper proposes that iterative teaching and learning can be used for collaborative learning, where students can relearn unclear topics and verify the understanding of those topics before undergoing evaluation. And then throughout my research on iterative design, I thought of 3 different areas for practical development in the classroom. The first area I thought of as I was doing my research was lesson planning. Year to year, we as teachers think about how the lesson went the first time we taught it, or the second time we taught it, or the third time we taught it, and we determine what changes could be made to make the lesson better. There are times where I'm even teaching a lesson to my first class and I realize, hey, that didn't go well. What can I do to make it better for my next class? So I make changes from class to class. The way I taught the lesson to the first class isn't necessarily the way I taught the lesson to my second class, because I realized there were tweaks that need to be made and changes that need to be made to make the lesson better. Another area that I thought of was project-based learning. This is something where we present students with a challenge or a problem, and we ask them to make it better. And just because they've come up with their one solution to make the problem better doesn't mean there aren't other solutions or ways for them to make their one solution better. So project-based learning also encompasses iterative design, where students come up with a product or a solution and they realize, hey, I can make the solution better. What can I do to make this better? And they keep on going in that cycle to make a better solution. And then I also thought of growth mindset. As I was doing my research on iterative design, I kept on seeing the word failure and how iterative design kind of sets us up for failure. The very first time that we do something isn't the perfect time. It's not the perfect result. So growth mindset, when you have a fixed mindset, you think to yourself, this just isn't ever going to work. I'm not going to make this happen. It's not going to, this isn't going to work for me. But with a growth mindset, you're constantly thinking, what can I do to make this better? How can I make this product better? And that is exactly what iterative design focuses on. And these are the sources that I used while making my presentation.